Hi, I'm Hammad Matin, and I'm running for State's Attorney for Charles County. One of the reasons that I'm seeking office to be your State's Attorney for Charles County is because I believe that we need to hire more prosecutors. It's important to hire more prosecutors because these are the attorneys that we have in the office that put away the bad guys and that make decisions as to how to do justice. The reason why we need to hire more prosecutors is because the office just hasn't kept up. Unfortunately, when I was hired back in 2001 as a prosecutor, as an assistant state's attorney, we have the same number of prosecutors then in 2001 as we do now in 2010. Now the problem with that is over that 9 to 10 years span, you have a population in Charles County that has grown. You've seen an increase in crime. But to have the same number of prosecutors means more cases, more burden, and less ability to prosecute effectively. With not having enough adequately staffed prosecutors to have run in your office, what that means is you don't have the same amount of time and the resources to put in to prosecute each individual case. It means that attorneys can get rushed and decide to prosecute a case without really recognizing whether it ought to be prosecuted. You could also have the opposite situation where a prosecutor decides to dismiss a case because they just don't have the time, they're overburdened with casework because of the growing number of crimes and growing population in the county. I aim to fix that, and I promise if I'm elected your state's attorney, I will hire more prosecutors. Now the question is how am I going to do that? We all know it's tight budget times. Well, there's a problem with the current state's attorney's office in that they have never really sought federal and a lot of different state grants to seek to hire more prosecutors. Specifically, there is a federal grant with the criminal justice grant the Department of Justice runs, in which they grant money to rural counties and other counties to hire prosecutors to prosecute handgun offenses. St. Mary's County, our neighboring county, receives about $100,000 a year in federal grants for that process. Charles County has never applied for it, nor have they received that, and from my understanding, they do not receive any federal grants to hire prosecutors. I'm going to change that. I'm going to fix that. That's my pledge to you if you elect me your state's attorney. I also believe that once you hire more state's attorneys and you have a good number of prosecutors, an efficient number of prosecutors to run an effective office, it's also very important to have mandatory training and development for your prosecutors. It is a shame that our current state's attorney's office does not have a formal system of training and development. When I was hired back in 2001 as a prosecutor, basically, it was on-the-job training. That's how you learned how to prosecute cases. They threw you in the court system, and you sink or you swim. Well, that may have worked back in a more older time, but now what you're talking about, if you want a modern prosecutorial office, that's just not going to work. You need to have a formal training system in which new hires, new prosecutors are formally trained in terms of the rules of evidence, in terms of using science and understanding scientific problems in DNA evidence and working out cases, and also learning fundamentals of trial tactics. You have to have a program for that, and I'm going to develop that program, and I'm going to ensure that it's mandatory, not just for the new hires, but also for veteran prosecutors. All of my state's attorneys will have mandatory training and development that's going to require a formal training program that's going to make them the best prosecutors in the state. I'm asking for your vote on September 14th to be your state's attorney, and I promise I will bring the best state's attorney's office, more prosecutors, better trained prosecutors. That's my pledge to you. Thank you.